GraceandTruthRadio.world proudly presents Life Coaching for Men, improving their relationships with their wives and learning to communicate for a more fulfilling and satisfying marriage. And now, Men Loving Well, with Christian counselor, author, and relationship coach, Dr. Jim Slaughter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Men Loving Well. I'm glad you're here today. And this is an interesting thing that we get to do today because this is Janet Perez Eckles, an author, prolific in my book. You know, you've written a number of things, and her husband, Dale Settles, and they both have an incredible story. And I got to hear most of the interview, Janet, between you and Ann.
Yes.
And it was really a great interaction that you guys had. And Janet has been blind since, in fact, it was almost kind of a gradual kind of development, wasn't it?
Yes.
Why don't you briefly tell your story? And I want, for the guys in particular who are listening, I wanted them to hear your story, Dale, because you have been Janet's eyes, as it were, for, the time that you've been married, And it's really important for me to talk to men about how to love their wives better, how to be really, really good husbands, how to be loving, caring husbands. And that involves many different things, but I don't think I ever thought that I would find out that a component of that would be being the eyes for a wife who's blind. So, Janet, just real quickly, your story, and then I want to talk with Dale.
Yes. Well, what happened is when I was 30, an incurable retinal disease took my eyesight away completely, no color, no shadows. So I had to deal with that. And through the Lord, He gave me the strength and the ability to adjust to my blindness, to live a very abundant, fulfilled, and rich life in the Lord. And so that was one tragedy. And as in Ann's interview, I shared others.
Yes.
But one of the last ones was the end of my 42-year marriage. And I was devastated. And I thought I'd never be able to be married again. Not that I was looking for, but, who's going to marry a blind woman, right? When I was in my 60s. But God had a surprise, a handsome surprise, might I say.
He's a rock, isn't he? Look at that guy. All right.
Look at that hair, right?
I know. Give me some of that.
So yeah. And it was a difficult thing for me because my former husband married me when I was sighted. I was nice looking. I was healthy. I was young. Not so much so now. So Dale came into my life in a different stage of my life, which was kind of interesting for both of us.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for that. And let me say, you're very nice looking still. And did I hear you telling Ann that you put your own makeup on?
I do. Yes, I put on my own makeup. I do my own nails. Wow. I do my own hair. But then sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I make a mistake. Because one time, remember that time, honey?
Yeah.
We're going to church, and I was putting my makeup on in the car because I don't need a mirror light. So I was putting on, and I thought, do I have my eyebrow pencil?
Uh-oh.
And I said, honey, look at me. Am I okay? And what did you say?
I said, you're okay, except your eyebrows are red.
That's my lip liner, my eyes, and my eyebrow pencil on my lips. So yeah, I have to be careful. But the thing, he's there to verify what I look like, right?
That is great.
We tease each other. We'll say, you need me.
Yes. Yeah.
And we do that. We do that back and forth.
I'm sure both of you need the other one, right?
Yeah. When I'm looking for something, he finds it for me. He said, remember, you need me. Or when he's trying to remember something, I come with it and I tell him, you need me. So.
Absolutely. Well, and don't forget that.
Yeah. Exactly. I got it written down.
Yeah, you're not going to forget that. Dale, when Ann was interviewing Janet, she described Janet a couple of times, and I remember two things in particular, and I was going to ask you about this, but Janet, she called you empowering, and gosh, I just lost the word that she used.
Inspiring?
No, it was I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it in a minute and I'll bring it up. But the idea was that you were captivating was the word. She called you captivating and empowering. And there were some other things in there too, descriptive words. But I thought, wow, those are powerful words to use of a person, you know. And Anne is those who know her know that she's very energetic. She's very outgoing. She I think could be described with those words as well. But for her to recognize that in you, I think that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I suspect others have sensed that as well. But the question I had for you, Dale, at this point was what attracted you most to Janet when you guys first met? What was it that attracted you to her?
Well, you have to remember when I met Janet, the first time I saw Janet, she was on stage at church doing a presentation telling her story.
Okay.
And I had been head usher at the church for years, and so I had things to do. So I normally don't get to listen or watch. Right. But every now and then I'll take a glance, you know, and she's on stage walking back and forth, you know, and talking to the audience, and she's looking all around, telling everybody, talking, and then she does a little kick in the air with her, you know, and I started laughing. And because the pastor had told us he had a speaker. He was gone on a mission trip, and he thought he had a speaker lined up. And so when I had forgotten all about that. He told us that she was an incredible speaker. And he said, oh, by the way, she's blind, totally blind. And I forgot all that. I forgot it all because I really wasn't paying attention. So when I glanced up and she was doing that and she's kicking, and then I started, I might need to listen to this. And so I started listening.
It's that captivating part, right?
Yeah, captivating, absolutely. Right. Mesmerizing.
No kidding, yeah.
But she was just, you know, she was just so bubbly and so happy and so full of joy. And she was just, you could not tell by looking or by watching or by listening. There was no indication she was blind. And I still hadn't remembered that.
Yeah, wow, isn't that amazing?
So, you know, when she, of course, she tells us in her message, in her story. So, she came, then between services, she goes to the front lobby of the church to autograph the books, which, by the way, she does autograph the book, right. And with her daughter-in-law. And between the second and third service, I went out. I never do this. Never have I done it before, and I have not done it since. I went out to the lobby, and I walked up to her, and I said, you know, since my wife died from cancer 2 years ago, I've been not walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I've been living in the valley. Wow. And I said, I just want to thank you for lifting me.
So
she lifted me up out of that and got me moving again.
Just really raised your spirits.
Yeah. Showed me there was life after death, basically.
Okay. Wow. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So
I'm sure you guys have talked about that quite a bit. So you were saying to Anne, Janet, when you guys were talking, that Dale has become your eyes. He is the eyes that see for you. So Dale, what's it like to be someone's eyes?
I mean, I can answer that, but it's not what you think. Okay. It's not. You think you know. But until you get into it, you don't know. Before we got married, I asked each of her sons separately for their permission, and I went to her mother and asked for her permission. But her oldest son said, "I have a question." And he said, "What do you think of Mom's blindness?" And I said, "Jason, your mom sees better than most sighted women I know, or people I know."
What a great answer! Great
and so he said, "I give you my permission."
Wow.
And that's She's very independent. She loves to do things on her own. And sometimes when I help, she's not appreciative. So you don't think about this, though, right?
No.
You think, well, she's going to need help, so I'm going to be there to help, do whatever I can do to help. But she so loves to be able to do things on her own. And I think she does it to prove to herself that she still can do this stuff.
Okay.
And so I try to do things I know the usual stuff about making sure the cabinet doors are closed, that the chairs are in the same place, because she can run through the house without hitting anything. And if you don't think that's something, try it in the dark.
Oh, man,
how you do.
I have, believe me.
Well, I
it
have
doesn't
too.
work for me.
But you got places like this, like for example, navigating through this huge, hotel and the conference areas.
Yeah.
I can do that by myself, even if I had the white cane. So, he's the one, obviously he finds the places and looks at the schedule because it's all written on paper. So without him, I couldn't be doing this.
Right.
So he thinks I'm independent, but I probably depend on him more than he thinks.
And he's even aware of. Yeah.
I make sure that, and I
Never
make
write
sure
this
he
down.
appreciates it. But then
I remember what you said.
Yeah, because he's very detailed, and I appreciate that because I'm all over the place. I mean, if I had 10 interviews, which we had about 15, but I'd be talking to somebody and I'd be talking to them for an hour because I'd forget. I'm so involved in just getting to know people, but
Sure.
He's on track. He knows the details. He knows the time. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, I guess, partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you, Dan.
Yeah.
I would think that a man who enjoyed consistently being with his wife and offering her that service, really, I guess, would have to be a patient man. Is he patient? Is he a patient guy or not?
He's patient with me.
Okay.
Little things that get him upset, no. But you think about it, though. He has to do all the grocery shopping. When we take a trip, he's the only one that can drive.
Right.
And see the mail. So a lot of things that most wives do, in our case, Dale has to do them all. So that's something that most husbands.
I put my apron on and I go to the store.
And there you go. There you go. So, Dale, do you cook?
I can, and I did. I don't. Does that make sense?
Cooks. Ask him who cooks.
The reason is I was born on the farm in the Midwest.
Okay.
So my staples are meat and potatoes.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I meet this little chica from Bolivia who doesn't do meat and potatoes. She does quinoa and vegetable. So my diet made a complete reversal. I mean, the stuff I used to eat all the time, I don't eat anymore.
Really? Okay.
Rare occasions when we go out to dinner, sometimes I'll order steak or something. But
yeah,
we don't. It's just a total different. So I can't cook what she makes.
I see.
But what's wonderful, Jim, is that wherever I cook, whatever I fix, I sometimes put things together that are kind of strange. He eats them. I think that is beautiful, right?
I agree. It is.
I make some stuff that you like some. I bake a lot for him.
Jim, do you like hummus?
Hummus?
I am not a hummus guy. I have to admit that.
I tried hummus and I tried it twice, and both times I couldn't eat it.
Yeah.
And she could say, "Oh, honey, I'm gonna make hummus," and I go, "Oh, that's great."
Tell him the recipe.
But so when she made it,
yeah,
and I tasted it, I thought you were making hummus. This is really good.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
So she must have flavored it or something in a way you weren't expecting.
And here with me, Jim, when I cook, I don't really measure anything, number one. Number two, I measure my hand.
This is an eighth of a cup.
Yeah. So
it is.
So when I make things, I put things that are healthy all together.
Okay. Good.
And so I don't use anything pre-prepared or any, things that have sodium or high sugar.
Right.
And so I put some weird stuff together that tastes good to me. So I give it to him. Bless his heart. He loves it. So it's a blessing.
Absolutely.
I don't know if his love that pretends to love him, but he eats it all the time, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, and he likes my baking. How do you like it?
Oh, she can. Oh, Jim, yes. She makes banana cake that's out of this world. She makes dried cranberry oatmeal cookies that you would die for.
And Jim, they don't have sugar.
No sugar, no flour.
They don't have white flour. They don't have any preservatives. I put everything together that's healthy. Do I have a recipe? Right here.
In your head. Man, can you believe it?
So what a blessing to marry a man who likes what I cook, what I bake.
And let me just say, okay, that I kind of pick up that in all of this dynamic that you guys have, which is incredible, Janet, I know you seek to please Dale. Dale, you seek to please Janet. And there's this thing that happens between you, that connects you. And of course, we would say that I guess at the root of that is a very, very deep love that you have for each other. And from that comes a kind of way that you navigate the world together in a way. I mean, you have a way of interacting that builds the other one up, I think. And you mentioned, Dale, earlier that she lifted your spirits when she was doing that kick thing, and she lifts your spirits. I suspect Dale does that for you too.
Oh, yes. Nobody can make me laugh like Dale does. Right? I tell them that all the time.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell him why. No.
He does. And I think in the marriage, what's important is to appreciate each other, what each other does for the other. I always want to make sure that Dale knows that I do appreciate. I mean, there's nothing he cannot fix. If he sees me struggling with something in my computer, he does something to make it easier for me. And I think that is so beautiful. Now, I can't take that for granted. I have to show him that I appreciate that.
Wow, yeah.
And the same, he doesn't ever complain, oh, I wish I didn't have to go shopping. I guess he never does that.
Wow.
And so
the Lord, I'm very blessed that the Lord gives me the talent or the ability to fix just about everything with His help. I never take the credit for it because it's Him doing it. I'm just the hands. And so I have, and I think most men, when they complete something, they want somebody to appreciate it. And I had to learn that Jan can't always appreciate it because she can't always see what I've done.
Right.
Okay. And so I had to learn that it's not that she doesn't appreciate it. It's just that she can't understand it because she can't see.
Right.
But it doesn't diminish the fact that I still have to fix things for her. I mean, the stuff that she used to pay people for, I do, and I think I do a better job than they did. But that's
probably
just my opinion. But anyway, that's part of the, and I think that's just looking for, what's the word I'm looking for?
appreciation.
No, not appreciation. Looking for just to solidify.
Okay. Yeah, good word.
The relationship, because we do things, we do almost everything together. We had to learn that we need each our nights out with our friends. Which makes our life stronger.
Yeah, because, right.
So
that was one of the things that was challenging for me anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of challenges, we do have some challenges because we're both married, late, quote unquote, in life. So we had our own ways of doing things.
Sure.
And that took adjustment.
Yeah, you're not as flexible as you're young.
Right. Yeah. Right. We had set in our ways, I guess, to put it mildly. But I think we learned to talk about it and to be honest and transparent with each other, because I didn't want to just, I don't want to, I don't want to create any waves, so I'll just let it go. Well, if we do that, then there's resentment that builds. So,
right.
But in our situation, I didn't have to say, okay, honey, when you do this, when you help me in the car, do this, do that. He instinctively knew. And like you say, I think it's his love that goes ahead of time, one step ahead of you. And if husbands did that and could foresee my wife needs it, I think I'm going to do that. You have a lot more happier wives out there.
Yes, you would. And I think a lot of, I think a lot of what happens in the marriage, and even a wife's spirit and attitude, demeanor, all of that, can be affected and can be enriched, maybe is the way to put it, by her husband. I mean, as her husband loves her in really good ways, she often is inspired or motivated, moved. She just wants to love him back.
Yes.
And I think that's what happens. But I wish part of my job in this particular program, the Men Loving Well. But I talk to men, husbands, couples a lot. That's what I do as a counselor and life coach. And I wish that more men would pick up on that more quickly. That if I'm doing a really good job of loving my wife, chances are pretty good she's going to love me back in ways that are meaningful to me, whether it's love languages, whatever that may be, whatever it is. And so it seems to me that you guys have found that maybe even early on that
as Jan said earlier, and I'll repeat it, that God brought us together.
Yes.
And so God doesn't make mistakes.
Nope.
And so we're supposed to be together. What he wants us to do isn't clear yet, but he's got a mission for us. And when we pray, one thing we do that I think is very important, we pray for each other and with each other morning and night.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I think that's a big part of the battle, and any of the battles that you're thinking about. If you're not praying with your spouse or praying for your spouse in front of your spouse, I think if you try that, I think you'll see a change, not just in your spouse, but in you as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a powerful thing. And I was so glad to hear that you guys do that. Something else you mentioned too, Janet, and that is that you guys talk. Guys sometimes are afraid to talk. They just don't quite get into it. And so communication is not, we're not born really knowing how to communicate very well. It's a learned skill. And so sometimes it's a little bit hard for guys to learn it, but
that's why guys have a 5,000 word vocabulary and women have a 25,000 word vocabulary.
That's it. I believe it.
We attended a seminar not long ago where we learned a technique that really has been very beneficial for us.
Oh, tell me about it.
Because that's not something that comes natural, especially with two different backgrounds, so different from each other. So it's called withheld. Right? Withheld. So what it is that when I see something that I don't like or I don't appreciate about what Dale said or did, I don't confront him with it at the moment.
Okay.
I wait maybe till the end of the day when it's a calm moment, and I say to him, I have a withheld.
Okay.
And the key is I have to express what it is, and his response should only be, okay, thank you.
Wow.
It could be a withhold with something good. I really appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
I really appreciate how you guided me through an RB, all those interviews, how you did that. I really, really treasure that. Thank you. Same thing with him. Janet, this is what I don't appreciate, or this is what hurt my feelings, and this is what I wish it would change next time we did this. My job is to say, thank you. So if men could just verbalize that little bit, I didn't like, how when you said that I don't take out the trash in front of our friends all the time, that really hurt me. And she's to say thank you instead of saying, well, you never do anyway, right?
It's not easy to just say thank you, especially when it's a negative that you hear.
Yeah, you and I.
Because you want to explain your side, but that's what that articulation leads to a battle.
Yes, it does.
And so you let it go with thank you, and then you both calm down, and then maybe possibly you can talk about it later.
Yeah.
When you both are all calm, and because now you know what you did that wasn't acceptable to your spouse.
Right. Boy, what a good idea. I'm glad you went to that conference because now you can share it with our audience.
Now you guys went to a conference from home.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't and you don't have to explain, don't have to defend, don't have to do that stuff because you have a kind of a plan, and you know what you're going to say and everything like that. And so, sounds like that's worked for you guys pretty well.
Yes, it has worked well.
And, there were times that were not easy because of the adjustment period. And that's understandably so.
Plus, the enemy was trying to, but,
especially when I'm trying to do something more for the ministry, right? The enemy's right there.
Spiritual warfare would jump in because, Janet, you've been at the computer all day. Can we have some time? She's busy.
Yeah.
And I'm just bored. So
right. And needing.
Yeah.
I'd like to end with this. I would like to ask each of you, just before we turn off the cameras and everything, what would you like for the husbands who are listening out there, these men who are wanting to love their wives better? You've shared a number of things that give us some insight into that, and that's great. We really appreciate it. Is there anything that has been left out that you might like to say? Is there something you'd like to say to husbands who are watching, or even to wives who are watching?
Well, we talked about communication.
Yeah.
The other key element to that, the other half of that element, is listening. You listen with an open mind, not with the intent of what am I going to answer this with.
Okay.
Resolve it.
Yeah.
So you want to listen. You want to. Women want to be loved. The Bible tells us you must love your wife like you love the church.
Right.
So men that love their wife like that, men want to be respected. So if you love your wife the way God tells you, she will respect you in return.
Good point.
And in her respect is love.
Yeah, good point. Well put. Well put, Dale. Yeah, thank you for that. Anything from you, Janet, that you'd like to add or not?
I think that's true. I definitely agree with that, and I see that in our marriage. And I think what's also true, and I've seen in marriages where the wives are told to submit to their husbands. But do you know how easy it is to submit to a man who truly loves you, who shows that love, who demonstrates it, who shows that tenderness, who would think enough to, she's about to run into the cabinet door, I better go close it, or little things like that. Stop. Yeah. Or say, stop, turn the other way, or to the right, or always having to, help me into the car, out of the car, things like that.
Sure.
How can you not, submit to somebody like that who just demonstrates that kind of love? So to husbands, try it, demonstrate to love.
Absolutely.
Your
Give it a
wife
shot.
will be right there.
Be attentive. Just be attentive and observant.
Yeah.
Good
point.
She says, "You're watching, aren't you?" Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm fixing something. He'll say, "You missed something on the side," and I look at him like, "I didn't know you were watching me." So his eyes are always on me.
I tell you guys, it's been wonderful. Thank you for sticking around, because you and Ann had a fairly long interview earlier, and it was great. I got to see most of it and hear most of it. And on the spur of the moment, we just said, "Hey, Dale, could we talk with you and Janet together for the Men Loving Well program?" And you agreed. So thank you so much for giving us your time today and extending it so that I could have, and our audience could have, more benefit from both of you. And I tell you, we really have gotten so much from both of you today, and really, really appreciate your being here and being willing to give us your time. And it is great getting to meet you both.
Thank you. It was great fun for us.
And we thank you, Jim, for just being the kind of person that you are.
And thank you. The man so needed.
Thank you very much. And so we're going to say thank you for watching and or listening, depending on which it is. And just ask you guys, take heed, because they've given some really great pointers today. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. God bless.
Thank you.
All right.